There is something running your life right now, and it is not your conscious mind. I know that sounds like a bold statement, but stay with me, because by the end of this section, you are going to understand something that most people never figure out. Not in school, not in therapy, not even in most self-help books. Think about the last time you made a decision you regretted. Not a small one, a real one, a decision that, when you look back at it honestly, you wonder why you made it. Maybe you stayed in something too long, a job that was draining you, a relationship that wasn't working, a pattern you kept repeating, even though you knew it wasn't serving you. Or maybe the opposite, maybe you didn't do something you wanted to do, didn't start the thing, didn't make the call, didn't take the step, because something held you back, and you couldn't quite name what it was. That thing, that invisible force, that quiet background program, that was making your choices for you, before your conscious mind could get involved. Wayne Dyer had a name for it. He called it the subconscious, and he spent 40 years teaching people how to work with it, rather than against it. Now, here is what most people misunderstand about the subconscious mind. They think of it as something hidden, something mysterious, something you have to dig into therapy for years to access. Wayne Dyer had a very different view. He said the subconscious mind is not hidden at all. It is broadcasting constantly, right now, as you listen to this. Every belief you hold about yourself, every assumption you make about what is possible, every automatic reaction you have to people and circumstances, all of it is your subconscious mind, running its programming. And here is the critical thing. That programming was written for you, not by you. It was written by the experiences you had, before you were old enough to evaluate whether they were true. By things people said to you when you were young, by how the adults around you behaved, by the messages your environment sent you, about who you were, and what you were capable of, and what people like you could expect from life. You absorbed all of it, before your rational mind was fully online, before you could evaluate it, before you could say, wait, is that actually true, or is that just what they believed, or what they feared, or what they were taught? You just took it in, and it became the operating system that has been running your life ever since. Wayne Dyer's great insight, and the great gift of everything he taught, was this. That programming is not permanent. It is not your fate. It is not your identity. It is not who you are. It is simply a program, and programs can be rewritten. Not overnight, not without effort, not without understanding how the system works, but they can be rewritten. And that is exactly what this video is about. Over the next hour, I am going to walk you through the complete Wayne Dyer framework for reprogramming your subconscious mind. Not the surface version, the real one, the one that actually works, the one backed by both the science and the wisdom that Dyer spent his life distilling. So get comfortable, find a position that works for you, and let's go deep. Before we can reprogram the subconscious, we need to understand what it actually is. Not the pop psychology version, not the vague, the power of your subconscious mind version. The real, practical, functional understanding that Wayne Dyer built his entire teaching around. Think of your mind as having two distinct parts. The first part is the conscious mind. This is the part you know well. It is the part that is aware of itself, that thinks deliberately, that evaluates, plans, decides, and reasons. When you are reading this script right now, that is your conscious mind at work. The conscious mind is powerful, but it has a very significant limitation. It can only hold one thought at a time, or at most a very small number of thoughts at once. It is sequential, it is slow, it requires effort and attention. The second part is the subconscious mind, and this is where things get interesting. The subconscious mind is not sequential. It is parallel. It is processing millions of pieces of information simultaneously, every single second, without you being aware of most of it. Right now, as you listen to this, your subconscious mind is regulating your breathing, your heartbeat, your body temperature, your balance, your immune system response. It is managing thousands of biological processes that you never consciously think about. But it is also doing something else, something that matters enormously to the quality of your life. It is filtering your experience of reality. Here's how it works. In every single moment, your senses are taking in an enormous amount of information. Researchers estimate that your nervous system processes approximately 11 million bits of information per second. But your conscious mind can only handle somewhere between 40 and 50 bits per second. So what happens to the rest? Your subconscious filters it. It decides what reaches your conscious awareness and what gets screened out. And the filter it uses is based on your existing beliefs. Your existing programs, what your subconscious has been taught to look for. Here's a simple example you have probably experienced. You buy a new car. Let's say it's a specific model and color. And suddenly you start seeing that exact car everywhere. Did more of those cars suddenly appear? No, they were always there. You just weren't noticing them before. Because your subconscious filter wasn't set to look for them. Now it is. And so now you see them. This is not a small or trivial phenomenon. This is how your entire experience of life works. The opportunities that seem to appear or not appear for you. The people who seem to show up or not show up. The possibilities you see or don't see in any given situation. All of it is filtered through your subconscious programming. Change the programming, and you change what you see. Change what you see, and you change what you experience. Change what you experience, and you change your life. Wayne Dyer understood this deeply. He would often say that the outer world is simply a reflection of the inner world. That what you see out there is always shaped by what is in here. Not as a metaphor, as a literal description of how consciousness works. This means that if you want to change your circumstances, the most powerful place to start is not with your circumstances. It is with the programming that is filtering your experience of those circumstances. That is the entry point. That is where the real work happens. And that is where we are going next. Now that we understand what the subconscious mind is, and what it does, the next question is, how did the current programming get there? Because understanding how the programming was installed is essential to understanding how to change it. Wayne Dyer was very specific about this, and what he described aligns precisely with what developmental psychologists and neuroscientists have since confirmed. The brain has what are called critical periods of development. Between birth and approximately age 7, the brain operates predominantly in what neuroscientists call theta wave state. Theta is the same brainwave state that adults enter during deep meditation, or the half-asleep, half-awake state just before sleep. In theta state, the brain is maximally receptive. The critical faculty, the part of the brain that evaluates information and decides whether to accept or reject it, is not yet fully functional. This means that a young child absorbs information directly into the subconscious, without filtering it, without evaluating whether it is true, without considering the source, without asking whether it applies to them. Whatever the child experiences repeatedly becomes a belief, becomes an assumption, becomes a program. Think about what this means. A child who hears repeatedly, "Money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford that. People like us don't get to," absorbs those statements as facts, not opinions, not the fears or limitations of the adults around them. Facts about reality, about what is possible, about what they are worth. A child who is compared unfavorably to a sibling, or who fails at something and is made to feel stupid, or who is told in 1,000 subtle ways that their authentic self is too much, or not enough, or somehow wrong, absorbs all of that as information about who they are, and then carries it into adolescence, into adulthood, into their career, their relationships, their financial life, their health decisions, their capacity for joy. Now, here is something important that Wayne Dyer always emphasized. The people who installed these programs in you were almost never doing it maliciously. They were doing the best they could with the programs that had been installed in them. Your parents were running their own subconscious programming. Your teachers were running theirs. The culture around you was running its. And they passed it on, as people always have, from generation to generation, until someone stops and says, "Wait. Is this actually true? Or is this just what I was taught? And if it is just what I was taught, do I have to keep living as if it is true?" That question is the beginning of reprogramming. Wayne Dyer often called this moment the awakening, the moment when you realize that the voice in your head, telling you what is possible, and what is not, and what you deserve, and what you don't, is not the truth. It is a recording, an old recording, made a long time ago, by people who meant well, but who did not see you clearly. And here is what changes everything: recordings can be recorded over. The subconscious mind, which learned these programs through repetition and experience, can learn new programs through repetition and experience. Different repetition, different experience, deliberately chosen, deliberately applied. That is the entire art and science of subconscious reprogramming. And Wayne Dyer spent 4 decades figuring out exactly how to do it. Let's talk about the specific methods. Wayne Dyer identified what he called the 4 doors through which you can reach the subconscious mind and begin to change its programming. Understanding these 4 doors is essential, because different people respond to different doors, and the most powerful approach uses all 4 in combination. Door number 1 is repetition. The subconscious mind learns through repetition. It is how the original programming got in, and it is one of the primary ways to change it. When something is repeated often enough, the brain begins to treat it as normal, as expected, as the default. This is why daily practices, like the morning affirmations that Wayne Dyer taught, work over time. Not because repeating something once creates change, but because repeating something daily, for weeks and months, gradually shifts the subconscious baseline. The key word is gradually. This is not a quick fix. It is a genuine rewiring process. And like all rewiring processes, it takes time and consistency. Door number 2 is emotional intensity. The subconscious mind does not process all information equally. It gives special weight to experiences that carry strong emotion. This is why a single frightening experience in childhood can create a lifelong fear response. While 100 neutral experiences might leave no lasting trace, the emotional charge is what signals the subconscious this matters. Remember this. Adjust the programming accordingly. This is why Wayne Dyer always insisted that affirmations must be felt. Not just said, not just thought. The words alone, without the emotional charge, barely reach the subconscious at all. They stay at the surface level. They remain intellectual, and they produce very little real change. But when you say an affirmation, and genuinely feel what it would mean for it to be true, feel it in your body. Feel the warmth or the expansion or the relief of it. That emotional charge is what carries the new belief past the critical faculty and into the subconscious, where it can actually take root. Door number 3 is the receptive state. As I mentioned earlier, the brain cycles through different wave states. Beta is active waking consciousness. Alpha is relaxed, present awareness. Theta is deep relaxation or light sleep. Delta is deep sleep. The subconscious is most accessible in alpha and theta states. This is why Wayne Dyer was so insistent about the morning practice. The first 20 minutes after waking, when the brain is transitioning out of sleep, is a naturally occurring theta and alpha state. Your subconscious is maximally receptive. Your critical faculty is still warming up. Whatever you put in during this window goes in deeper than at any other time of day. And similarly, the 20 minutes before sleep, when the brain begins its transition towards sleep, is another naturally occurring receptive window. 2 windows, every single day, built into your biology, available to you at no cost, requiring no special equipment. Most people fill those windows with the phone, with news, with other people's problems. Wayne Dyer filled them with deliberate, intentional reprogramming. Door number 4 is imagination and visualization. The subconscious mind does not clearly distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and an actual experience. This has been demonstrated repeatedly in research. Athletes who visualize their performance activate many of the same neural pathways as athletes who physically practice. For the subconscious, if you can vividly imagine being a certain kind of person, feeling a certain way, experiencing certain things, that imagining begins to register as real experience. As evidence, as data for updating the programming, Wayne Dyer used this extensively in what he called the living from the end practice. Not wishing for something from a distance, but inhabiting the felt reality of it, as if it were already true. These 4 doors, repetition, emotional intensity, receptive state, imagination, combined, they form the complete toolkit for accessing and changing the subconscious. And in the next sections, we are going to look at how to use each one in your daily life. Let's start with the most powerful single thing you can do to begin reprogramming your subconscious. It costs nothing. It takes 20 minutes, and it works with your brain's natural biology, rather than fighting against it. Wayne Dyer called it claiming the morning window. Here's the practice in full. Every morning, when you wake up, before you do anything else, before you check your phone, before you speak to anyone, before you think about your to-do list, you are going to spend the first 20 minutes deliberately programming your subconscious. Because right now, in those first 20 minutes after waking, your brain is in alpha wave state. Your critical faculty is still coming online. Your subconscious is maximally receptive. Whatever you put in during this window goes in deeper than anything you could put in later. Here is the exact sequence. Minutes 1 and 2. Lie still. Do not get up yet. Take one long, slow breath in, hold it for a moment, and release it slowly. In that breath, ask yourself one question. What is one thing I am genuinely grateful for, right now? Not a list. One thing, and then feel it, not just think the words. Feel what it means to have that thing in your life. Let the warmth of it rise in your chest. Let your breathing slow around it. Stay with that feeling for the full 2 minutes. This is not a small or trivial exercise. You are doing two things simultaneously. You are beginning your day from a frequency of abundance rather than lack. And you are flooding your subconscious, in its most receptive morning state, with the experience of gratitude. With the emotional signal of, I am enough, life is good. That signal, repeated daily, over weeks and months, genuinely changes your baseline frequency. Minutes 3 through 8, sit up, eyes still closed or softly open, and say your I am statements, not silently, out loud if at all possible, because the vibration of your own voice adds another dimension to the impact. Say each one slowly, with deliberate pausing between them, with genuine feeling. I am enough, right now, as I am enough. Pause, feel it, I am moving in the right direction, even when I cannot see where it leads. I am moving. Pause, feel it, I am grateful for this day before it begins. Something good is going to happen today. Pause, feel it, I am someone who good things come to. I am open, I am ready, I receive. Pause, feel it, I am at peace with where I am, and I am excited about where I am going. Pause, feel it, say each one 3 times. Slowly, feel each one genuinely before moving to the next. 6 to 8 minutes. What is happening neurologically during these 6 minutes is remarkable. Your brain, in its alpha state, is receiving these statements, not as wishes, but as instructions. Without the critical faculty fully engaged, these declarations are going directly into the subconscious, where they begin the slow but real work of updating the existing programming. Minutes 8 through 18, meditation. Not complex meditation, not special techniques, just this. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, breathe naturally, count your breaths, 1 on the inhale, 2 on the exhale, up to 10, then start again. When a thought comes, simply notice it without judgment, thinking, and return to the count. 10 minutes, every morning. What this practice does over time is build the capacity for present moment awareness. The ability to observe thoughts, rather than be controlled by them. And this capacity is the foundation of all the other reprogramming work. Because you cannot reprogram a subconscious pattern that you cannot first observe. You have to see it before you can change it, and meditation is the practice of developing that seeing. Minutes 18 through 20, intention. One question, who am I choosing to be today? Name it, say it out loud, write it if you have a journal nearby. That is your morning protocol. 20 minutes, every morning, before the world starts. This is not a luxury. This is the most important investment you can make in your day. In the last section I introduced the I am statements as part of the morning protocol. Now I want to go much deeper into this practice, because it is far more powerful and far more specific than most people realize. Wayne Dyer devoted an entire book to this. Wishes Fulfilled, published in 2012, one of the most profound things he ever wrote. The foundation of the book is a simple but extraordinary claim. The 2 words I am are the most powerful words in any language, not because of mysticism, because of the psychology of identity. Here is how it works. Your sense of self, your self-concept, the internal model of who you are, is not stored as a list of facts. It is organized around the phrase I am confident, I am struggling, I am the kind of person who succeeds, I am the kind of person who never catches a break, I am healthy, I am always tired, I am creative, I am not artistic. Every I am statement you habitually make, whether consciously or unconsciously, whether out loud or just as an internal background assumption, becomes part of your self-concept. And your self-concept is the lens through which the subconscious filters reality. So if your subconscious is running the program, I am not the kind of person who, it will literally filter out the evidence that contradicts that program. It will not show you the opportunities. It will not register the possibilities. It will confirm what it already believes you are. This is not philosophical speculation. This is a well-documented feature of human cognition, called the self-consistency bias. The brain works to maintain consistency with its existing model of the self. It screens in confirming evidence. It screens out disconfirming evidence. Change the model, and you change what the brain looks for. Change what the brain looks for, and you change what you find. Wayne Dyer's specific protocol for changing the model. He called it the IAM reprogramming practice. And it has several specific rules. Rule 1. Your IAM statements must be in the present tense, not future tense. I will be confident does not work. I will be confident tells the subconscious. Confidence is something that exists in the future. Not now, not here, later. The subconscious takes this as a fact. Confidence is not present. I am confident tells the subconscious. Confidence is the current reality. Even if it does not feel true yet, even if the evidence contradicts it, the present tense is what primes the brain to start looking for confirming evidence. Rule 2. Your IAM statements must be believable enough that they do not immediately trigger a rejection response. This is a critical nuance that most people miss. If your current self-concept is very low, and you suddenly declare, "I am wildly successful and wealthy," your critical faculty will immediately reject it. That is not true. I know it is not true. This is nonsense. And the rejection itself reinforces the old belief. The bridge statements, the ones that are genuinely true, and genuinely better than the current default, are often more effective. I am learning. I am growing. I am moving in the right direction. I am becoming. I am someone who is figuring this out. These are true. Your critical faculty cannot reject them, and they begin to shift the self-concept towards something larger. Rule 3. Feel each statement before saying the next. The emotional charge is what carries the new belief past the surface level of consciousness into the subconscious. Words without feeling are just words. They stay at the surface. They produce almost no lasting change. Words plus genuine felt experience. That combination reaches the subconscious. That is what begins to move the programming. Rule 4. Practice in the receptive states. Morning, in alpha. Evening, in the pre-sleep window. That is when the subconscious is most accessible. Those are when the practice produces the most impact. Dyer recommended a minimum of 5 minutes in each window. 10 minutes total per day. That is all, but every day, without exception, because consistency is what creates the new neural pathway. The single session changes nothing. The 100th session changes everything. One of the most important things Wayne Dyer taught about subconscious reprogramming was the role of time. Specifically, the role of consistent repetition over time. Most people who try affirmations or visualization give up after a few days or a week. They say, "I tried it. It didn't work." But here is the thing. They are measuring at the wrong time. Neuroscience has given us a very specific timeline for how long it takes to create a new neural pathway that becomes a genuine default response. The research suggests approximately 60 to 66 days. Not 3 days, not a week, 66 days. That is the time it takes for a new thought pattern to move from something you practice deliberately to something your brain does automatically. Wayne Dyer knew this intuitively, decades before the research confirmed it. He talked about it in terms of what he called building a new groove in the record. Think of your mind like a vinyl record. The old beliefs are deep grooves, worn down by years of repetition. The needle of your attention drops into those grooves, automatically and effortlessly. A new belief is like trying to create a new groove in a record that already has established tracks. On day 1, the groove is barely a scratch. On day 10, it is slightly deeper. On day 30, it is becoming a real groove. On day 66, it is deep enough that the needle begins to drop into it, naturally. Without effort, without deliberate intention. That is when the reprogramming has actually taken hold. When you begin to feel, automatically, the way you used to have to practice feeling. This means that the practice, particularly the IAM protocol in the morning window, needs to be sustained for at least 66 days before you can accurately assess whether it is working. Not 21 days, not 30 days, 66. Wayne Dyer recommended 90 days, to be certain. 3 months of consistent, daily practice. And here is the important thing about what consistent means. It does not mean perfect. You will miss days. You will have mornings where you check your phone first, where the practice feels like going through the motions, where you cannot feel anything when you say the words. None of that is failure. The key is not perfection. The key is returning. When you miss a day, return. When you have a week that falls apart, return. When it feels like nothing is working, return. Every return is a declaration that the new groove matters more than the old groove's gravitational pull. Wayne Dyer also taught what he called the spaced repetition principle for deepening the reprogramming. This means not just practicing in the morning window, but adding brief moments of intentional reinforcement throughout the day. When you walk from one room to another, a single I am statement. When you are waiting for something, a moment of felt gratitude. When a fear or self-doubt thought arises, the redirect, that is an old recording. Not my truth anymore. These brief moments, spaced throughout the day, compound the effect of the morning practice. They keep the new groove being reinforced, even when you are not formally practicing. Over 66 days of this, the transformation is real. It is measurable. It is visible to the people around you, often before it is fully visible to you. Because the people around you are seeing the change in your energy, in how you carry yourself, in how you speak, in how you respond to difficulty, before you have fully consciously registered that the old programming has shifted. That is how deep this goes. That is how real this is. And that is why Wayne Dyer taught this as the foundation of everything. I want to spend serious time on this step, because it is the one that makes the difference between people who get real results and people who practice for months and wonder why nothing is changing. The difference is almost always emotional charge. Wayne Dyer was emphatic about this. It comes up in nearly every book he wrote, every seminar he gave, every interview he did. He said, the subconscious does not respond to words. It responds to the emotional reality behind the words. Let me explain what this means in practice. Imagine two people. Both of them say the same affirmation every morning. I am enough. I am worthy of good things. I am moving forward. The first person says the words quickly, almost mechanically, because they have been told to do it. But internally, simultaneously, there is a contradictory feeling. A faint sense of, but I don't really believe this. A residual feeling of not enough. A background doubt. The words say one thing. The emotion says the opposite. The subconscious receives both signals. And when there is a conflict between words and emotion, emotion wins. Every single time, because the subconscious processes emotion as more fundamentally real than language. The second person says the same words, but before they say them, they spend a moment actually finding the felt experience of what they are saying. They think of a moment when they genuinely felt capable, or loved, or at peace. They let that feeling become physically present. They feel it in the chest, in the breath, in the body, and then they say the words from that feeling, as an expression of that felt experience, not as a wish, as a description of something already real. For the second person, the words and the emotion are aligned. They are pointing in the same direction, and the subconscious receives a clear, consistent signal. This is true. Update accordingly. This is the difference that makes all the difference. So how do you generate the emotional charge, especially when the feeling is not naturally there? Wayne Dyer had a specific technique for this. He called it borrowing from the best. Here's how it works. Before you begin your affirmation practice, you recall a moment from your past when you felt genuinely good about yourself. Genuinely capable, genuinely worthy, genuinely at peace. Even a small moment, even a brief one. Maybe it was a conversation that went well, a moment of genuine connection with someone you love, a time you solved a problem you thought you couldn't, a piece of work you were genuinely proud of. You recall that memory in as much detail as possible. The sensory details, where you were, what you saw, what you felt physically, the quality of the emotion. You let that feeling become present in your body right now. Not as a memory, as a current experience. And then, from inside that feeling, you say your affirmations. The feeling you borrowed from that genuine memory provides the emotional charge that carries the new belief into the subconscious. This is not manipulation. This is intelligent use of how the brain actually works. The subconscious cannot tell the difference between a feeling that arose spontaneously from circumstances and a feeling that was deliberately cultivated. All it knows is the feeling. And when the feeling accompanies the new belief goes deep. Practice this. It takes time to develop the skill of being able to reliably generate the feeling. But it is learnable, and once you have it, it transforms every other aspect of the reprogramming work. The morning window is powerful, but Wayne Dyer taught that there is a second window, equally powerful, that almost nobody uses deliberately. The pre-sleep window, the 20 minutes before you fall asleep. Here's why this matters so much. As your brain begins transitioning towards sleep, it moves from beta wave activity through alpha into theta, and eventually into delta. The theta state, which begins appearing in the pre-sleep window, is the same deeply receptive state that the brain is in during deep meditation. And in the early morning after waking, in theta, the critical faculty is again stepping back. The subconscious is again maximally accessible. Whatever is in your consciousness, in the 20 minutes before sleep, is what the subconscious will be working with, all night. Think about what that means. Your brain does not stop working when you sleep. It is enormously active during sleep, processing experiences, consolidating memories, integrating new information, running programs, and the raw material it works with is largely what was in your consciousness just before you fell asleep. Most people fill those 20 minutes with the phone, or the news, or replaying what went wrong during the day, or worrying about tomorrow, and then they wonder why they wake up feeling anxious, or why their dreams are restless, or why the fear-based programs feel so deeply embedded. Wayne Dyer's evening protocol, minute 1 through 5. Put down the phone. Lie in bed, and do a brief gratitude reflection. Not a list, not performance. 3 genuine things. 1 thing in your life that you appreciate. 1 thing about your body that you appreciate. 1 person whose presence in your life you are grateful for. Feel each one. Let it be real, not rushed. This is shifting your emotional frequency from the noise of the day to the quiet of appreciation. You are beginning the transition from the reactive consciousness of the day to the receptive consciousness of sleep. Minute 5 through 10. IAM statements. The same ones you practiced in the morning if you like, or variations appropriate for the evening. I did enough today. I gave what I had. I am learning. I am growing. I am at peace with this day. Said slowly, with genuine feeling, in your body, in the warmth before sleep. The subconscious is receptive. It takes what you give it. Give it better material. Minute 10 through 15. The living from the end visualization. This is the practice Wayne Dyer described most extensively in Wishes Fulfilled. You choose one area of your life that you are working on, something you are calling in, something you want to become or experience or create, and you spend 5 minutes, not wishing for it from a distance, but inhabiting it, feeling what it feels like to already have it, not the excitement of getting it, the ordinary, settled, comfortable feeling of it being your normal reality. What does your body feel like? How does the morning feel when this is your life? How do you move through a day in this version of your life? How do you feel when you wake up? Let it be real, let it be present, let it be felt, and then let it become the felt experience that you carry into sleep. The subconscious will work with it all night, building new associations, updating the model, looking for confirming evidence to bring back tomorrow. This is not magic. This is a sophisticated use of how the brain actually functions. The evening protocol takes 15 minutes. Combined with the morning protocol, you are spending approximately 35 minutes per day, deliberately programming the most powerful processing system you have access to. The one that is running your life. 35 minutes per day, 66 days, and the life you are experiencing begins to change. Before I give you the complete 30-day plan, I want to cover the most common mistakes that prevent this practice from working. Because knowing what not to do is as important as knowing what to do. Mistake 1. Practicing without feeling. We have talked about this extensively, but it bears repeating, because it is the single biggest reason why people practice and see no change. Words without feeling stay at the surface. They do not reach the subconscious. They do not change the programming. If you cannot generate the feeling in a given morning, spend a full minute before your affirmations, deliberately recalling a memory of genuine well-being. Let the feeling from that memory be the emotional fuel for the practice. Mistake 2. Inconsistency. Missing a day and then giving up. Having a difficult week and abandoning the practice entirely. The subconscious responds to consistency, not perfection. One missed day does not undo the work. One difficult week does not erase the progress. What undoes the work is stopping. The only failure in this practice is stopping. Keep returning every time. Mistake 3. Looking for results too early. People practice for 2 weeks, and because their circumstances have not yet changed, they conclude the practice is not working. But the sequence is, subconscious shifts first, then perception shifts, then behavior shifts, then circumstances shift. The subconscious shift is invisible. The perception shift is subtle. The behavior shift is gradual. The circumstances shift is what finally becomes visible. You will not see the circumstances change in 2 weeks. You might begin to see subtle changes in perception, in how you interpret events, in what you notice, in how you respond. But the big changes come later. After the new groove is deep. After the new program has genuinely replaced the old one. Be patient. Trust the process. Measure at 66 days. Not before. Here is your 30-day plan. Week 1. Morning practice only. 20 minutes every morning. Gratitude feeling. I am statements. Meditation. Intention. Week 2. Add evening practice. 5 minutes of gratitude and I am statements before sleep. Week 3. Add the spaced repetition. Brief I am moments throughout the day. Whenever you think of it. Whenever you have 30 seconds. Week 4. All 3 together. Morning. Throughout the day. Evening. Every day. Measure your internal experience at day 30. Not your circumstances. Your internal experience. How does the morning feel? How does your body feel when you say the words? Is there slightly more ease? Slightly less resistance? Slightly more genuine belief? That is the signal. That is the practice working. Continue to day 66. Then measure again. That is where the real change lives. Subscribe if this gave you something today. New lessons every week. Going deeper every time. Leave a comment. What is the one subconscious program you most want to change? I will read every one. Don't die with your music still in you. Before you go, if any part of this video made you stop and think, that's not an accident. Wayne Dyer believed that the right message finds you at exactly the right moment. Maybe this was yours. If it was, hit subscribe. Not because I'm asking you to, but because there are more lessons like this one waiting for you on this channel. And you don't want to miss them. Hit the like button if this added something to your day. It takes 1 second and it helps more people find this content. People who might need it just as much as you did. And turn on notifications, so the next lesson shows up before life gets in the way. I'll see you in the next one. Don't die with your music still in you.